Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
The needs of working families and the middle class, not just the billionaire class. We know what's going on. We are paying attention.
Good morning, everybody. It is most definitely the end of the corporate age, the beginning of a very strange populist age with lots of weird stuff going on, and we're taking a departure from normal stuff. It's still related to everything. It's related to what's going on today, but we have a special guest, and that is my dad. And we've had my dad on the show before. He is a veteran, and he's an author, and he's a writer, teacher. He's an amazing guy, and he served our country in many different ways. And one of them was to help educate my ass so that I could be here and do this. I'm very thankful for that. But we're going to talk about his latest book, which is Stirling Plantation. And he's got some interesting perspectives. He grew up at a time when he watched from the 40s, 50s, 60s. He saw the United States kind of transform through civil rights and maybe not so much. So please welcome my dad. And then we'll bring on everybody else to say hi. But Dad, Bill Ellis, thank you for joining us on this show, their morning show. It's not We the People. Hi, Dad.
Glad to be here.
And there's media too again. It's a perfect Saturday when I do that. So we've talked about other books. We've talked about other stuff. This one's very different. You've written a lot of books, but this is the first is a historical fiction really talking about something pretty heavy. Why did you write this? Why now?
Oh, good question. I find too many people are totally ignorant about slavery and about the civil rights movement and about a lot of things in history. They just get it wrong. And so I decided to do some research, which is, I don't usually do research. This is my 6th book, and it's totally historical fiction. It was a lot of fun to do because I learned a lot going back and checking on sources and things. And I really wanted to be able to make a statement as a white Southerner as to what I thought about plantation life and what's going on today, which is the rising of white supremacist movement, which is really ugly. And I was especially concerned when our president last year in Charlottesville felt like the Ku Klux Klan and anyone against them should have equal voice. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Which is pretty general, you know, you would think that's what you get from this guy anyway. But I wanted to write about history of two families that lived together in the Manor House of the plantation. And this part has been ignored in history, that when you grow up and live with people, you come to know them. And when you know them, it's kind of hard to hate them. So there were instances, and especially in what I've created in this book, a story of two families, a black and a white family, and they grow up to know each other and become friends. Some people say this is impossible, but it's quite probable. And in fact, it mirrors how I grew up in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I had a colored woman, that was a term we used back in the 40s, who was my daycare provider. And I did not hate her just because she was black. She took care of me. She was my daycare, my nanny. And so I decided to ask the question, what would happen if I had grown up in a manor house on a plantation? What would be my relationships with black people? Since the black woman in the story is the cook and housekeeper, and in many cases, those people were ran the nursery in the manor house. And the nursery included white and black children. So those children grew up. And what kind of message would they get from the cook, who's a black person? In my case, in this story, that person, it advises and mentors a white boy into loving black people. So it's a different story, but it's something that really gets to the premise of the book. And that is, you can't hate somebody you know. No. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of people in the South and in this country, it's not just the South, who think that it's okay to hate people. Racial prejudice is rising along with white supremacy. And by the way, white supremacy, they love the Confederacy. They just think that's great to put up a flag with the South, the battle flag. And I think we're overdue to get rid of that thinking. Those people actually are domestic terrorists. They're not loyal to the United States. They're loyal only to themselves. So I went off on a tangent here.
You sure did. That's all right. You took it political. I was going to go there, but that's all right.
Yeah. Well, okay.
No, it is. It kind of is. So you've told us why you decided to write this book now. Talk a little bit more about your personal experiences and how you integrated them into the book.
Well, it's now that I've told you that I was raised primarily from 0 to 6 years by a black woman, you can understand that when I put that into a book, I'm basing a lot of my feelings on my actual experiences. I saw white people treat my Tessie Crockett, I'll just say that was her name. The book is dedicated to her. I saw white people be mean to her, call her dirty names, a name that I will not use, not at all. It's the N-word. I saw that, and I saw how much it hurt her. And so I wanted to create a loving relationship in a southern plantation. And Tessie had stayed with me, until I went off to college. I was 18, and they still had her around, even though I was a teenager and off a lot. But I think her cooking is what kept my father, had my father keep her there. So I knew her for 18 years. And when I graduated college, I came back and my mother said, well, we've got to go see Tessie, because Tessie thinks you're as much hers as I think you're mine, which was an amazing statement, because my mother was raised in a very conservative part of Virginia, family Southern Baptist. But she accepted the fact that Tessie wanted part of me and would never let that go. And so I'll never remember going back and meeting her at it was age probably 22 at the time. And it was a good relationship.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, you've told me a lot about this growing up. You told me a lot of different stories, and I think you had a unique situation. You've also talked about your mom and dad and possible differences there. I want to get more into that, but I forgot to introduce or bring in Marcus, who is gone now, and Laura. So I guess I'll wait for Marcus to come back before I bring everybody in. But I know there's already some questions I see right away, and I just want to know, Laura, do we want to take a moment to address these questions?
Well, I think Alpha was just asked, as he just came in as a Southerner that was around during civil rights, how does it make you feel to know that secessionists and racists like Matthew Heimbach are gaining traction?
How did it make I missed the last part of that. Who was that you said?
Matthew Heimbach. How do you feel about just generally secessionists and racists getting more power these days, having been through what you've been through?
I think it's criminal. It's criminal. As I've mentioned before, they're domestic terrorists. They hate people. And it's not just black people, it's Jews, Catholics, anyone who's a little bit other, and of course Muslims. They have their own brand of Christianity that's not really Christianity. It's an ideology, a political ideology that suits their purpose. Doesn't include many people.
No.
So, you know, you can't forbid it. Constitution allows them to do this, but it's just amazing to me that we haven't labeled them correctly.
Well, and thank you for the question. I want to take it from there. That's a good way to lead off on this, and that is. And hi, Marcus. By the way, hi, Marcus. Everybody, there's Marcus and Laura. Just show everybody on the screen there. We got everybody in the fourth shot there. So,
hello, you guys.
There you go.
Good morning, everyone.
We will talk more about other things going on with Progressive Week after the interview with Dad here. But this is important because it's timely. It's heavy stuff. You know. You and I and everybody here, the people, we're talking about how we need to call out these groups. Who's not calling out these groups? It's not just President Trump. I mean, we've got Congress that doesn't seem to be doing much either, correct? And I'm asking you, Dad. I mean, what do you see? You watch the news. You're from your perspective, who's not acting? Who should be calling out these hate groups?
Churches. Number one, the churches didn't do that in the 19th century and in the 20th century. They were mum. This is one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s major complaints, that he expected Christian churches to be for civil rights, and they weren't. They didn't support it, and so that's why a lot of people, including me, just left and ignored it. The church. That'd be number one. Any politician who's representing everybody should call out these people. And some will hide behind this conservative mantra. I don't have anything against conservatives unless they don't speak up for the right purpose.
Yeah, well, they don't seem to be. You know, you were saying they should be labeled domestic terrorists, but they're always that's
conservatives. But the people, the white supremacists.
Absolutely. I haven't finished the book, just to be honest with everybody. But it starts off with with a person coming to the plantation. This is way later in the 60s, but you cover time from the mid 1600s all the way to the 1960s in your book. Why go all the way back to the beginning there? What are you covering throughout those time periods?
Well, I got to tell you that the first draft was read and critiqued heavily by some readers who said it's boring. We don't we don't want to read this happened in 1650, this in 1750, and so forth on up. That was boring. So I rewrote the first 75 pages, and I put in a narrator. And the narrator acts as a personal demonstration of what slavery was all about. My narrator is an ex-slave. People have asked me, well, who the heck is he? Because he lives for a long, long time. And he's actually a ghost. He's not a real person. But a family goes on a tour of the Stirling Plantation, and he takes them on a tour. He shows them that he was given no shoes. He shows them the shack that his family lived in, that was dirt floor, sometimes mud when it rained or snowed. And by his physical body, his presence, he shows them just what it was like to be a slave. So that's the purpose of going all the way back, because it just was horrible. But I wanted an actual figure in the book to demonstrate that. At one point, there's a mother, a son, and a husband. And the son notices that the narrator, Robert is his name, has his shirt is torn on the back. And he looks through the tears and sees that all of these scars are on Robert's back. And Robert says, yes, son. He said, when we didn't act right, we got whipped. We were lashed and treated poorly. It leaves the family in tears just watching, because here's a person in their midst demonstrating what it was like and what had happened to him. He had no shoes, he had poor clothes, and so you don't know what to think of this, except that it was very bad. So that's why I went way back. I went way back also to look at the laws that the states passed to keep the slaves down.
Right. And let's talk about that in the 1960s, because you saw, as the civil rights movement moved forward, that Virginia, where you were, worked very hard at moving backwards. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. And this is one of my pet peeves about history, is that people think that the Brown versus Board of Education ruling, Supreme Court ruling in 1954, people say, oh, well, that integrated the schools. It did no such things. It said they should be integrated, but it didn't. In Virginia, the state legislature passed over 200 laws to try to get around that ruling. And it wasn't until 1968 that a third Supreme Court ruling finally did away with what we know as those Jim Crow laws. Those Jim Crow laws that segregated the South and kept black people down. So in my opinion, slavery did not end until 1968. And
even then it just kind of began to shift, because today we have a whole different version of it in the prison to profit system. But
right.
And we see government doing similar things. Do you see? And I referenced the Florida legislature bowing to the NRA and then buckling back a little bit. We've seen other things, ICE running around. Do you see a lot of parallels today with some scary times in the past, as far as moving towards this hatred, like Nazism? Do you see us falling down into the same pit?
Yeah. To me, it's tyranny. What's going on now? I mean, our chief of police here in Longmont has an agreement with ICE that they're not going to come in and round up a whole bunch of immigrants, or illegal immigrants, what do you want to call them. And he works with them to make sure that the innocent people in his city, and we have about 33,000 Latinos here. He works with them. We're not a sanctuary city, but our chief of police goes out and talks to these people every Sunday. He's walking their neighborhoods to get to know them and to assure them that they will be protected by the police. Because they're all afraid. They're all afraid.
And they should be. ICE is a Gestapo, and it should be abolished. It's an abomination to this nation, and it's a disgrace that they even exist. They're separating families, and it's horrific. I'm surprised that Mike is working with them. I mean, more power to him. He's the one cop I know in a country that I actually respect, and we've had him on his program. But I didn't know he was working with them. They don't generally tend to follow any of their own laws, so that's surprising. I'm glad he's on the streets. And what my father's referencing, everybody, is the fact that since 2015, for more than 2 years, Mike Butler and Dan Benavidez, along with many other people, have walked the streets. And this is community policing. This is police getting to know the community, and it's done. It's part of a comprehensive Longmont City plan. It's an amazing city. But thank you for referencing that. I just want to one more thing on that. Do you feel outside of Longmont, do you see racism inherent in law enforcement?
Oh, well, I went on Facebook, and I'm not sure that was a good thing or not, because I reconnected with a lot of old friends, old classmates, old friends from my hometown back in Virginia. And I went on and I said, quite frankly, I'm a liberal. I'm for human rights. I support human rights, which includes women, civil rights, blacks, transgender, LGBT community, however you want to call it, anybody. I support them. And I got a lot of crap. frankly, I said, I'm not sure this is worth it. One fellow, this is kind of funny, he says, I don't know where Bill missed the turn, but I'm going to pray for him.
Oh, gosh.
I feel so much better.
I know you do. I know you do, Dad. As much as you like thoughts and prayers, I know you feel better. I want to bring in Laura Livengood and Marcus. Do we have questions from the audience, you guys?
We have one question coming from another German, from Dennis. He's one of those guys who are volunteer here. And he's asking, out of your perspective as an accomplished elderly wise man, what would you suggest that we as a younger generation should do?
Oh, good question.
I think the best thing you can do is to get to know your neighbors. Get to know who they are. Listen to them. My best advisor on this book was a black man. You could tell me a lot more about what it's like to be have racism, and bigotry facing him every day. So if you don't know the people in your neighborhood, you don't know who your friends or your enemies are. I mean, you need to talk to them all. And that's what's missing in this country, is we are segregated. Even though it's against the law, it's a cultural segregation. And that's not a very good thing. We in here in Longmont, we have a police chief who sets an example, who goes out and meets people, and he says, you need to know your neighbors. He has 350 people in his public safety administration, 350 firemen and police, and he's putting them all on the streets. I can't think of something like that happening in Baltimore.
No.
Cleveland, other cities.
But it's that aspect of community that we've lost, and I want to tie into that, and then I want to show you something funny. But do you think that we can regain that community, or a good portion of it, just by practicing in our democracy?
I think it happens one conversation at a time. You don't just break down all of these racial prejudices overnight. It happens one conversation at a time, and I'll tell you one that I had over the internet when I'm the only local commentator or opinion writer to the paper who gives an email reply address. And so I came on, I wrote a paper that was published on slavery, and I gave in about 500 words a history of slavery. And this guy writes back to me and says, you are a liberal idiot. And then he goes on to say, and also an asshole.
Well, of course.
Sorry to use a bad word. I know, but I saw the preliminary disclaimer.
You're allowed to, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had two choices, with this guy. I could write back, and I could just really tear him apart. I've been known to do that in writing. I said, no, this guy lives in Longmont. He's got a point of view that's completely different from mine. So why don't I try something different? So I wrote back to him by email. I answer anybody who replies to me. And I said, you don't really know me. And I said, if you knew me, you'd know that I support human rights for everybody. And I sent that off. And next day he wrote back and apologized. I would call that, and I have called it in the paper, a restorative conversation. It's one person who, instead of being slammed by me, just like he slammed me, I reached out a different way.
That's why you're my dad, full of wisdom, doing those things that I don't have the control to do. Being nice to people. It's a good lesson, though. And you're right. He lives in your community. You two could be angry at each other, or you could end up having a conversation that ends up building community. Right?
You know, I go on Facebook and I not only see people praying for me, I see people saying, "I've tried to educate liberals and it's just impossible."
Oh, sounds like Matt.
What does it say when you read that? You know, what does it say? They've written me off. Each of the two segments in the political spectrum, liberal and conservative, can't talk to each other. That's why I'm talking about know your neighbor. The next time you meet somebody that doesn't like your opinion, try a different way to talk to them.
Well, and I think it ties back into what you were saying about your book, is that if you know somebody, you can't hate them.
Yes.
Right?
You know, I got this from, I met a psychiatrist who wanted me to help him write his book. And 93 years old, he was a psychiatrist who was famous for getting the Hillside Strangler to confess in Los Angeles years ago. And he gave me a book by his wife, about his wife, and that was her philosophy of life. That's how she provided therapy for people. And so it's just a very different way to look at the situation.
Common sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Laura, Marcus, we got any final questions for Dad?
I think we got another one. I don't know from who raised the question. I don't find it anywhere. But the question is, do you see any sign that eugenics is making a comeback in Virginia or elsewhere?
Did you say eugenics?
Yes.
Yes. It was not my question. I'm sorry.
That was Al. That's Al Walsky.
Al Walsky. Yes, that was Al. Yeah.
That's out of my bailiwick. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, I mean, there's been some interesting moves towards cloning humans and chimps and stuff in China, but I don't know that I've seen any eugenics operations really.
Okay. But, maybe it was referred to Virginia because you're from there, but I'm not aware that there's something going on like this. You know.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, but I like your approach when you, in the beginning of the interview, when you said that you sat down and thought about what would it be being raised or being born into a household in a mansion as a white person, you know, and how would you have developed, you know, in your thinking of black people, you know. I think this is very important because for me as a German, it is the same question. What would have been my fate in the 1930s in Germany? What would have been my living there? Would I have been also into the Nazi train, or would I have been resistant to this? You know, it is there are so many influences who make a human being in the end. You know, and this is, I think, it's a very interesting approach and a good approach in my opinion.
You know, I doubt you would have had a choice.
Yes.
30s. I think you would have been marched into a camp and given a uniform and told how to do Sieg Heil, and that was it. And if you didn't follow along, you would be punished.
In general, you're absolutely right, yeah.
You're in a country where you have freedom to do almost anything.
Yeah.
Very different from 1930s.
Yeah, absolutely.
I lived in Germany for 3 years.
Yes.
I love Germans. They're very friendly people. No sign of the 30s.
You don't know, Marcus. I don't know, Dad. They've changed.
Well, that's when I was there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and I think it must be for you a bitter irony, you know, that you are seeing now that you were there in Germany after the Second World War, and you have seen what was going on in Germany. You know, you witnessed former Gestapo agents or people like that, you know, and now to see what's going in America with ICE, you know, which are the same structure of people, you know, as the Gestapo was, you know. I think it must drive you crazy somehow, you know.
Yeah. It is. It's frightening. and there doesn't seem to be much attention to the feelings of people.
Yeah.
They're frightening people, and that some people like to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's come around to that. I think education has a lot to do with that. Great questions. Thank you, Marcus, for adding your perspective into that. And that's, I appreciate that. Dad, we're going to get you out of here. Thank you for coming in and talking about your book. Everybody can go to stirlingplantation.com, and you can order the book from Amazon, and you can get it as a Kindle or a paperback. Is there anything else you'd like to tell everybody before we go?
Oh, yeah. I just when I graduated from when I was still a senior in high school, played my last football game, and the next morning we went over to see the black high school play a football game. And it's a scene I'll never forget. The black high school was wearing the same uniforms we had worn at the white high school, but they were worn out. So we handed down. That was what their uniforms were. I was in the band at the white high school, and at halftime I saw the black high school band marching with our old uniforms, the ones that had worn out. I think what I'm telling you is that was separate but equal education in the South. That's what it meant. You got hand-me-downs, you got old textbooks if you got textbooks. It was a shame, and we treated people just awful. And so I've always remembered that story as that scene, as to seeing that, and just really an eye-opener to me as to what segregation meant. And of course, the worst thing it meant was that we didn't know each other. Okay? We were separated. We couldn't know each other. Right.
And yeah, I remember you telling me that story. And you've said, we'll just wrap it around to today. You've said before that you see charter schools as the same concept as segregation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm against them.
Awesome. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for coming and talking about your book.
Thank you for letting me do it.
Absolutely.
Nice meeting you two.
Thank you.
A little box over here.
Pleasure meeting you too, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Awesome.
Great to have you.
All right, you can get out of here, Dad. Thank you.
Okay.
That's my dad, everybody. And yes, Density McCartney, you're absolutely right. I am very lucky to have a dad like my dad. You're right. So now let's see, I got him in the camera. Give me 1 second here because I got to move some people around. I'm going to put Marcus here. Let's see what that does. I got too many cameras now. It's too much fun to play with. I don't know how to get everybody in the same shot without messing it up. Crap. Just what are we going to talk about next, Marcus? What's on next?
Okay, we can choose. We can talk about last week on UHM, what happened, what shows, etc.
What didn't happen?
What didn't happen, of course. Yes, and we could go to the news. I think we should start with a look back at the last week. We had last week we had our special, and I think for this I should give over to Laura when she can tell us more about the Progressive California special with Gail McLaughlin.
Oh yeah,
there we go.
A week ago, boy. Hold on, I'm unmuted now. Not good.
Good transition, everybody. Enough time for me to make that car. We're good. All right, there you go.
Sorry, you guys. I'm multitasking.
Take it away, Laura.
Yes. No, it was fabulous. Went up to San Francisco, braved the traffic, found street parking, which was a miracle in itself, and spent a couple of hours with Adriel Hampton. We interviewed a couple of progressive candidates, including, and I don't have their names right in front of me. Sorry, I wasn't prepared. Running for mayor and running for California District 12, which is against Nancy Pelosi. And that's Shahid Buttar, I think. And then Jane Weiss was the one who's running for mayor. I'm pulling that out of my memory, so I may have gotten that wrong. But it was great. And then we had Matt Gonzalez, who is the attorney general or state attorney in San Francisco area. introduced Gail, and that was great. And then Gail gave a terrific speech. We had music, and we also had a parting song from Holly Near that didn't get on camera. That was really cool too. So we're going to be doing more of these. I'm going to be going in the end of this month to an event with Adriel called Rock the Congress, which is a big gathering in San Francisco of progressive groups that, for the sake of unity and progressive alliances. And we're going to be getting some interviews there. And we'll be doing a special report on Progressive California on the 25th that will give us a report from that Congress. And we may stream some of it live, particularly Adriel's session.
Awesome.
So it's good stuff coming up. And then tomorrow on Progressive California, can I just segue into that, or do you have a separate slide?
Keep going. I don't have a separate.
No, keep going.
Okay, you're right, because I haven't. I'm just making the slide now while you're talking. Of course you don't.
All right, so it's not that one. There we go.
Yeah. Paul Stanton, who is a member of the Public Banking Institute and an attorney activist down in Southern California, is going to be joining us to talk about public banking. He is really adamant that that is a really great thing for California. He's going to be drawing a lot upon the experience that North Dakota has had having a public bank. It's the only state right now that does. There's currently legislation in New Jersey for public banking as well, and it's certainly a big topic of conversation here in California. And the basic premise, of course, of public banking is that our money from California stays in California and goes towards California stuff, rather than all being turned over to the Fed and gone into debt or allocated to things that we don't want our money going to. So it gives us a lot of power to where the money in our state goes. And should be it's come up a lot of times on several different interviews as being an issue that people are interested in. So he's going to be talking to us about that tomorrow, 7 o'clock Pacific, Progressive California. And I'll have the card ready a little bit later, so we'll have the event on our YouTube channel.
Gosh, all right. So I had this working, and now it's not working. Marcus isn't coming up on the camera anymore. I don't know what the hell I did here.
Marcus looks like a spreadsheet. There he is.
Yeah, he does look like a spreadsheet on this camera.
I can do this.
Not really sure what's going on here. It's
organized. Well, Germans do look like spreadsheets on the inside sometimes. So
that's true. Well, thank you for updating us on that.
Thank you for making me so large.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there either.
With my curved screen, it makes it extra good.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, there we go. There. Okay, here's the. Except you're still huge. I gotta fix that.
Wonderful.
I'll be honest, everybody. All I really cared about was getting through my dad's interview without fucking it up or saying anything dumb or talking too much. Because every interview I've ever done with him in the past, he's like, talk a lot. You just need to just shut up. And so I just wanted to make sure Dad got a good interview. He doesn't say that to me, but Anyway, so Marcus. There you go. Now your head's not so huge. Give me some.
Okay, look.
All right.
Aren't we nice?
All right. Now, so Laura Livengood's got a lot of stuff going on in California, and we're hoping to do more things, and her gear is great. We are trying to raise money for the solo. That would be great if we could use that. We have a thing coming up that I'm going to talk about. We got Progressive Washington that happened. They did some great stuff in this last show. We're going to talk about that in a second. But before, I'm going to forget this if I don't say it. In the description of the YouTube video, there is a link to a thunderclap. We use these during the Bernie primaries. They're effective. They're not as effective because Twitter said we can't put the hashtag in our message anymore, but that's okay. We can still blast the message out. What is a thunderclap? It is all you're doing is allowing this application once to tweet on your timeline the same tweet that everybody's going to tweet at the same time on the same day. So that creates a big push of this same message, which makes a lot of people see it at the same time, which while it could irritate a bunch of people, it also alerts them to the fact that we have something going on, which is really what we're trying to do, is get a whole bunch of people to say, boom, we got this event that's starting in a half hour. Come join us so you can spend your money and support candidates and organizations that are working towards a progressive movement in the United States. Or actually, we're focusing on California, Washington, and Oregon in this one. But it's called No More Fools event. And we need you to click on that link. And if you have a Twitter account or a Facebook account or a Facebook page, you can authorize it to do this. So it's not just Twitter that it works with. It works with Facebook pages and accounts as well. Just do it. It only access once. It's not going to tap in there. And then, look, the NSA has already got your data. This is just something to help promote the progressive movement. So don't worry about it.
It's a coordinated scheduling of messages then.
There you go.
Is that basically what it is?
That's all it is. A coordinated scheduling messages. Yes.
Cool.
So do it, because the more people that do it, and they'll show you the social reach. All right.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. We got to do these things, right? We're going to be doing more fundraisers and events for the progressive movement, for candidates in particular. We need to get them cash so they can actually compete against the big Dem establishment. And we've seen what's happened, right? The DCCC going against Laura Moser, right? Bernie just came out and slammed them. The good thing is we've seen our power, right? Our power has hit them back in the face. And we had some wins. I know everybody's like, well, the Dems didn't do too well in Texas. Bullshit. Texas is a Republican hellhole. We did really good in Texas. Let's have perspective here, right?
Yeah, we'll come to this.
Yeah.
Seema Hernandez got 250,000 votes on $4,000 of spending. Hello.
Nobody's talking about that on MSM.
No.
They're talking about
Of course
Beto.
not.
They're talking about the name war between Beto and Ted.
Yeah.
It's the most bullshit. I mean, it's like whatever. So yeah. Anyway, do that thunderclap. That's wanted to get that out of the way. Did you make slides for these guys? You did.
Yes.
Thanks, Marcus.
But we will come to this a little bit later, I think.
What? Oh, do you want to not hit the slides?
No, not yet.
But just for the shows from last week, or do you want to talk about them?
Yes, because I picked a little part from yesterday's Progressive Washington show with Courtney Love, where she has a very good statement, and she says, "Do not become complacent." And I think we should run this short clip if you got it ready, John.
Well, I of course I don't, Marcus.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But I could. I could, you know.
This is good.
Yeah.
And yeah.
There you go. And it's on a great screen freeze of Courtney too. So there you go.
Do not become complacent. Just because the Democrats are in control of the legislature does not mean that everything that they do is in our best interest, because we must remember that while our communities are made up primarily of people who vote Republican or Democrat, and a little nod to all the people not voting, wake it up, people. But the voters of the average voter, Democrat, Republican, is not the same as the Democrat and Republican we talk about who are already in elected office. That's when I start talking about corporatists and the oligarchy. So the centrist Dem or the centrist Republican does not translate to a centrist elected official. It translates to a corporatist elected official. So we need to make sure that the donors, no matter the party, are not leading the legislature. So one, that means we have to run uncorrupted candidates at the state level, and we need to vote for them, and we need to hold those who are already in office accountable for these kinds of actions. Last week we talked about Senate Bill 6617, where the governor vetoed it, and I mentioned then, we don't thank Governor Inslee for doing the right thing when it was because we held his feet to the fire. We have to thank ourselves. So do not become complacent just because the right letter has the majority in the legislature. We do have to stay vigilant. Stay vigilant. And
very well said.
Yes.
Very well said.
This was my take from yesterday's Progressive Washington show.
That's great. And I just want to say, you and Laura have been with us a long time, and you remember the early days, and you remember Scott saying stuff like this, and you remember me, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to. I just wanted to take over the government, and it's so nice to hear this message being repeated by others. Like, we know the plan now. Remove the assholes, replace them with good people, make new laws, hold us accountable. Democracy, ding, 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 right?
Yes, and this message cannot be repeated enough, in my opinion, because this is the only way to go.
There it is.
Right now, I'm finding our current news cycle so ridiculous and so hard to swallow that I really find myself moving up above it and really saying, the only energy I have is to focus on future and supporting the people who we need to get in to get these idiots out. And I feel a little powerless to do anything about what's going on right now, other than this, focusing on the future and how do we change that from the inside.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I go crazy.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Marcus, next.
Okay, then next would be, I think we're already at the news block, when we're talking about what happened last week. And I think now we should start with the Texas primaries. And
No. You missed like 2 shows, man.
Okay.
I'm going to at least show the slides.
Yes, okay. These are the other 2 shows we had last week. I don't have anything from this, no clips.
That's all right. I got something to say about these things, actually.
Okay.
Actually, I do want to talk about these things. We didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier. So normally mentions them. I want to show this because if you're on watching the Progressive Oregon show, okay, if you're in Oregon, first of all, if you're in Oregon, this is the only show that's going to tell you about the actual local candidates that you have. Okay, Larry Taylor's been cranking through the local candidates. All right, here's 3 of them right here. Candy Neville. All 3 of them were great. John Orr and Brian Halverson are running for the same office. Candy Neville, I believe, is running for governor or lieutenant governor. Don't hold me to the fire on that. She's a badass. If you guys do anything, go back. I haven't had a chance to cut out the clips. All right, but watch that show. Share that show. If you're in Oregon, help the progressive movement and watch it. It doesn't get a lot of views, and I'm very sad about that. We really need to. It's amazing. That was a great show, great interviews, good people. All right. And then this event, which was thrown together, I just want to give props to Progressive Washington for throwing this event together. The story was a little difficult to really understand. There's a lot going on with this legally. But I'm gonna distill it down for you because it's pretty ridiculous what's actually happening with this, and I think it needs to be brought to everybody's attention. So basically, what happens is you have people that were in country, like this guy Zaid was in Pakistan, and he actually served in the United States military. I never really understood how that happened. All right, but he from Pakistan comes to the United States, ends on our military, serves in our war, is a disabled veteran, okay, marries a United States citizen, been together forever, right? And he's not allowed to have his citizenship. I don't even understand that. How can they put a uniform on this person, say you're a United States serviceman in our military, but you're not a citizen of the United States? That doesn't make any fucking sense. What Zaid and his wife Ann describe in this interview is the racism, the targeting by ICE and their attorneys of servicemen who were in Pakistan or any of those Middle Eastern countries that are Muslim that they deem are scary or whatever fucking reason. They're just being racist assholes. And I don't understand why there's no Congress people. I mean, he's got a long list of supporters who are helping him, but I don't even know why this is even allowed. If you throw a uniform on somebody that is from another country and you slap a uniform on them and say, you're fighting for us, go stand in front of those fucking bullets for this flag, you better damn well hand that person a goddamn citizenship badge. I don't even understand how we can use people like that. That's despicable. And if there's one thing I want changed in our government besides I don't want to destroy the military-industrial complex, but whatever military we end up letting ourselves have when we're done with this demilitarization of our country, it better damn well recognize every fucking immigrant that we've used for fodder for our regime wars. And ICE, I just got to say this, ICE is the most disgusting, despicable organization. It was created in 2003, okay? They're not some long-standing organization. 2003, they were created as a direct reaction to 9/11. They have done no good for this country. They're worthless pieces of shit. Every member should be in prison, and I hope to God we bring them to trial. I hope to God we hold them accountable for their crimes against humanity, just like we did to fucking Nazis. And any politician that's running around screaming DACA, 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 and then defending ICE, Kamala Harris, pull your head out of your ass. That screams centrist. That's what a centrist is. I'm going to defend these abusive assholes. I'm going to defend the people that they're abusing. At the same time, you can't do that. You can't do that. I'd like everybody out there to ask Randy Bryce, Beto, and all the other middle ground, supposedly looking progressive people that are taking money from the DCCC. I want them to answer, what do you think about ICE? And if they don't say abolish the piece of shit, they don't get your vote. They don't get your vote. I'd like you to share this interview. I'd like you to spread the word that ICE is deporting veterans. I don't know how low this country can go, but I say this publicly. I see ICE in my town. I will take action and do my best to make sure they don't leave my town. And that is a public threat. Don't come to my town, ICE. Don't come here. At some point, we have to take a stand as citizens. And I reference Sophie Scholl. She died because she had the courage to say, fuck you. And we need to do that with ICE. We need to have the courage to say, fuck you. Get out of my country. Stop doing this. And I need our politicians to have the courage to do that. I speak to you, Kamala, and every other middle ground milquetoast fucking Democrat out there. Find your courage. Find your moral fucking compass. Find it. Quickly. Quickly. So we're becoming a goddamn Nazi state. We are a fucking Nazi country at this point. We are treating other human beings like trash. And it is despicable. All right, we're moving on from that. I just wanted to cover that. Thank you. They also had a really nice conversation with Tyler Vega. I just got to give props to Washington Group because they lost Oz. They pulled it together. They redid their group. And they've been cranking out some good shows and good content. So good work, you guys. We need you to support these shows.
Yeah.
Right? So. All right. You said no viewer feedback, Marcus?
No viewers feedback. No. I hope that we will get in the near future now more comments to our shows, and then I can do a feedback again.
Yeah, me too. But now we're coming up on some happy stuff, I see.
Are we? Yeah, we are. Yes, we're coming to the new. Finally, we are coming to the Texas primaries.
Yeah.
And, we covered, or we had some candidates from Texas already here in our We the People format, and I think we have quite a good quota from this. If I look how many candidates we had, I think it was 8 or 9, if I'm right, and 2 of them went through. And one of them, I think, Rick Trevino is has another chance to run. Is it correct, John?
Yeah.
John, you told me.
Rick Trevino and Laura Moser are both in runoffs.
Yeah.
In the runoffs,
Yes. So they have a runoff if people are too close. So we've got 2 wins, 2 runoffs, and 1 progressive that was running unopposed. So that's 5. And you're right. We had interviewed 8 of them.
8 of them. Okay.
Which is so. It was like. I was so proud. It's like our friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the first thing in the morning, or was it evening? When the first results came in, I was directly checking what are our candidates doing there, and it was great to see that Adrian Bell, very impressive, went through.
Yeah.
Maybe you can enlarge the slide so we can see the numbers also.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Whatever you say. Listen to the German.
and look, 79.8% for Adrian Bell. This is a run through. She had no real candidate. Well, congratulations to Adrian Bell, and she had a nice party after this, as you can see on the photo. And all the best for the primaries in November for her. And I hope that we will have her on the show in the future. Because her way is going further. And I hope she reaches her target.
We definitely will, because we're going to have to support her as she goes up against the Republican in the general. So,
well, what kind of numbers are there on the Republican side of that ticket, I wonder, because we've got what 19 and 5, 25,000 votes on the Democratic side. There are hundreds of thousands of votes on the Republican side. You don't need to define that right away, but I'm just curious as how that balances out.
I got all results. I found all results, but I think I should only concentrate on the results of our candidates mostly.
Oh yeah, no. I was just curious is that when you see that she won in a blowout, but there was only 25,000 votes there. How many votes were cast on the Republican side of that?
All right. Look. Let me just answer that question right away with a very generic response. Okay, and then we'll move on. First of all, some reality checks. The number of Democrats that voted in the primaries, this is the Democratic primary in Texas. So you're not going to get, and it's a midterm Democratic primary in Texas, so you're not going to get a lot of turnout anyway. The turnout percentage compared to other primaries, midterms in Texas was off the fucking charts. Okay? I think it was more than 200% increase. There was also an increase on the Republican side. Like a 15 or 20% increase in actual turnout. So overall, democracy looking great in terms of turnout in Texas for midterm primary. I want to just mention to all MAGAs, this was not a contest against you this time. So you don't get to say we won. This was a primary for our own party, and you guys had one too. So there. Yeah. Saw a lot of confused MAGAs. Ha ha, Dems lost. It's like, no. Okay. Anyway, Ted Cruz alone got more votes than every member of the entire Democratic Party. Yeah. Okay? Just to put it in perspective. Okay? Ted Cruz alone. Yes, Ted Cruz, booger-eating, fly-on-the-face, creepy Ted Cruz got like, I don't even know how, it was 1 point something. It was so many fucking votes, it was insane. So in terms of numbers and turnout, yeah, we're not looking the great. Here's the thing. We're going to have a lot more Dems that are going to turn out and a lot more people that aren't Dems at all, independent voters, which makes up the larger portion of the United States in terms of the voter populace. And we've got a long ways until the generals, so we have a long more time for Republicans to make a mess of things. Yeah. Those are all your positives.
Yeah.
Right?
And Laura asked, I've got the complete numbers. The Democratic voters, we had all in all about 25,000 votes. And for the Republicans, I estimate about 44,000 votes.
Oh, well, that's at least shooting distance,
that's, unlike the Ted Cruz race, that's, yeah.
It's not an insurmountable ratio.
No.
But no. But I love what Laura, what you said about the primary between Beto and Seema is, she, in terms of cost per vote, which is something that the machine looks at, she knocked it out of the park.
Oh God. Right. I was so pleased for her that she had such a great showing for spending so little and coming in rather late.
Yeah. So. It's like 6 cents a vote.
Yeah,
something like that. It's ridiculous.
I think it was even fractions of a cent.
Yeah. And on just to add on to that, she's young, zero experience in government. Right? It's not like she's some old hand with running around doing the shit. Okay, she's just I'm gonna run, and and that's the kind of gumption that we need. That's the kind of attitude that we need. So I hope she runs again, because the next time she's going to be more polished. She's going to have more shit down. She's going to have a bigger crew behind her. And this is how we grow our Democrats.
And most importantly, she would have the name recognition.
That's well, right. That's what I'm saying. Like you don't want to lose your first, but it's okay if you do.
Yeah.
Because then you
no losing races. Still. That's still my mantra for this. That strides are being made, and now she can put her strength behind other candidates. Right. Yeah. Everybody who didn't win now has, and I think that's one of the nice things I see about progressives is that they will stay together. They will support each other, and the ones who did not win will put their weight behind someone else, and it'll multiply for the general. I like that.
Yeah, but you just said something that's really killer important. I want to touch on that real quick, because what she said is amazing. And I realize we're like at 11:02 and we got a bunch of people to get through. Lindsey Fagan was like the serious battle. That was like neck and neck with the other guy. That was crazy. But listen to what she said. So Seema, by running, doesn't matter that she lost. She now has a chunk of power.
Yeah.
Okay? She commands that power, as long as she doesn't do something stupid or disappear. She commands that power, right? And Beto, if he wants to win, if he's smart, which we don't know because the DCCC is just not, the Democratic Party is so fucking stupid these days. However,
and he's a sitting congressman, so he's entrenched,
right,
in a different way.
True. However, if he wants to win if he wants her votes, he has to court that audience. He has to speak with the person in power. That's what it means. So even when you run a race and you lose against your opponent, you retain power if you're not an idiot. And then you have to they have to negotiate. How do I get that power from you? What do I need to say or do to attract your numbers to win?
So it'll be interesting to see if he does that, or if he focuses on winning the Republican vote,
right,
winning over Ted Cruz voters.
Right, exactly, which I think would be a huge mistake. Huge. The Latino vote is going to show up for SEMA, not Beto. So yes. That's just my point. But let's move on to Lindsey Fagan because I want to get through some of these. We're running a little late. Neck and neck.
Yes, very close race. Very close race. And I think, I'm not sure if it was she, but I think she was having, she was posting on Facebook a live clip from the evening where she was checking the results until it was clear that she won this, and it was incredible to see, what's going on there.
Nice. That is cool. I'm sure her reaction was priceless.
Yeah. So
congratulations to her. Derek Crow, very close race.
Yes. Too bad he didn't make it on the second rank, to get, I think there's another runoff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's in a, is he in? No, he's not in the runoff.
He's not. It was
right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, he was also the most progressive option there. So
yes.
This just broke my heart, Darnell Jones.
This is very unfortunate, but if you read what he wrote on Facebook directly after it was clear, this man has class. This is a classy man, and he stated this. He will keep his signs, and he might need them soon. And I really hope that he will run again for another office because this man is so wonderful.
I agree. Darnell, you're welcome on this program, and we will do everything we can to support you. And I see you sitting in office soon. You're going to be doing something in an office. Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, very glad that he's run. Very glad that he's not giving up, and he's gonna go again. And then we have SEMA.
Yeah, we have SEMA. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be. I'll just be. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
23.7. From nobody to 23.7. It is impressing, And look, nearly 250,000 votes, as Laura said earlier. This is wow, And I think she will go on. I think this is a very, very solid base to go on and to look for another option.
It's you. We've just seen hopefully a budding career in serving the people in politics, right? Because she's now done the hardest part.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that work, Rick Trevino. So he won. This is the runoff. Is he, Laura?
That's what I heard. Is that he? Although, wait, I'm not seeing that in the results, though.
No. Yes, and the results declared Gina Jones the winner.
Okay, so maybe not. That's weird. I thought he was one of the
Me too.
One of the runoffs, or maybe this is some of them might top two might progress. I don't know.
It says race goes to runoff, and it just has So they just marked her the winner, but it says race goes to runoff. So I believe.
Oh, okay. All right.
I believe it does. So
yeah,
very cool.
Oh, that's right. I think top two in all the races go.
I think.
And
then
if there's a tie, if it's less than if there's less than a certain distance apart or something like that.
Yes. But then I think we would have, like in the next one for Casey Thomas, we would have two winners, and which go into the runoff. I don't know. We will find it out. But yes, Casey Thomas is another candidate we had on our shows. Yes. Rank 3, it was not enough this time. I don't know if she will run again. I don't have any hints, no comments coming from her. I don't know. Yeah,
she was strong. I remember interviewing her. She was a strong candidate, and so many women. It's good to see women. We have more of them registering and running. It's very powerful. And I added this slide, Marcus.
Yes, I know. I was not sure if I should add her because we didn't have her on our shows, and I was only referring to our guests.
Well, that's all right. She's important because of what went down there. Right?
Yes.
And she's making waves, and the DCCC helped her. So
Oh yeah.
By running ads against her.
Yes. Yes. Helped her.
And I'll be honest, I hope they didn't learn their lesson.
Yes.
I hope they keep doing this.
Yes.
Keep trying to remove progressives, because every time you do, we win more progressives. So please.
Oh, Darcy said that Trevino, second and third place, has a recount before he's officially in the runoff.
Oh, okay, so it was really close. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so I see why, because it's here. Let me show you the slide again, guys. This makes sense. So look at Rick.
Yeah, because they're so close.
17.5 and 17%, and we're really a couple hundred votes apart there. So they're doing a recount.
I see. Okay.
Well, let's hope that's not some bullshit going on there. And that
Yeah, Charles says if the top vote getter has less than 50%, it goes to a runoff.
that's fantastic. Thank you,
Yeah.
Charles, for clearing that up with us. Something we probably should have known.
We learn something every week.
This
That's
is.
what I got you guys.
I want to just read this little clip though. Moser now heads to May 22nd runoff election against corporate lawyer Lizzie Fletcher, who led the primary. But even if Moser falls short in May, her strong performance on Tuesday demonstrates the strength of the Democratic Party's energized progressive base and the limits of the DCCC's power to steer the outcomes of contentious primaries. I just want to hit on that, because what is being acknowledged, if it's ever so slightly, in media, is that there is a progressive wing of the Democratic Party. It has power. It's using it. And that we are in a position now where we are forcing the establishment to pay money to fight against us. And that is how we win. Because if we can suck their coffers dry and their donor base has to spit out more and more money, they will become more and more irritated, and they will lose. They will lose their power.
They don't have so much money for shenanigans either.
That's right. And we know they don't have money anywhere. They're broke ass.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is a win for us. This is taking over the party. And this is how it goes. So good job, everybody. Good job, Texas.
Yay.
Yeah.
Can I just say something that I forgot to? I wanted to show my dad. You talk about how hilarious capitalism is in the United States. I bought the domain for my dad's book, stirlingplantation.com, right? And set up a little website. It's 2 pages. It's just one page says, here's about my dad, and the other page says, here's his book, go buy it, right? I got this in the mail. So this says, Dear owner of Stirling Plantation. They think I own the actual plantation. It says, labor law notices must be current and posted. So for all of my plantation workers, they want to send me the appropriate Oregon labor law signs, because I need to have them hanging now that I'm a plantation owner. It's only going to cost me, I don't know what this, like $6? $15. Cost me $15. I'm sure these things are free from the state if you are a plantation owner. But just the fact that somebody would send this.
That's hilarious.
If you are a plantation owner and you're dumb enough to do this, you shouldn't be in business. But
with all kinds of plantations in Oregon, you know.
Yes. Yes.
You could qualify, I'm sure.
You think they have government grants for white people to own plantations? That would be Trump's world right there. Jesus.
I know some white people who own plants.
Plants or plantations? It's a little different there.
You
have what did you got loaded in here? Oh, you've got environmental stuff, the plastic. I didn't even see this. We're like so late on the show, and you've got this nice plastic story.
Yes, a nice plastic story. Yeah.
It's a nice story about plastic in the ocean. Really
Our
hard.
show doesn't have a deadline, John. We can go all the way to 11:30 and still be.
I know. Do you want to move on to the climate stuff?
Yes, I can go on with the climate stuff. Of course, this is easy to explain. You know, in Bali, in Indonesia, there is a very famous diving spot, and one of the divers went in there, and he expected to see mantas, or I don't know, stingrays, you call them in America, and what he found, or rare fish, what he found was plastic everywhere. And we have a short clip of this. If you can run this quickly.
Oh, I didn't load up any other clips, Marcus.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I was too worried about my dad. I didn't do anything.
No problem. You can find all the stuff we are talking about under our video in the description, and there's also a little clip of the diver. I think you can see it already here in the photo in the slide.
I'm gonna
what's
pull
going
it up.
on there? It is not something.
He's done it. It'll just.
No, it's my fault for just not. It's Marcus is doing a great job. I'm just being really slow today.
Well, anyway, it is nothing which would tempt me to make my next booking to Bali, Indonesia.
No.
For a diving trip. Absolutely not.
No, this is going to be gross.
Yes, it is. And look how wonderful. Camera work is great, you know, but the rest pretty sucks.
Wow.
Yeah. And there, they say there is somewhere a stingray or a manta to be seen. I don't know where. There's 213 fish.
That's horrible.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, this is what we can find in our oceans, you know.
What a
More and
great
more.
species we are.
There it is. There it is.
Oh wow!
Finally. And this spot usually at this season time is normally overcrowded with those fish, you know. And what you can see here, there's only one lonely manta and 3-4 other fish, you know. And that's it.
No, that's depressing.
It is.
It's.
I think I read in that article a third of their garbage goes into the water, and they burn part of it and bury part of it.
Yes, the slide says, or the article in The Guardian says, they produce on a daily, produces about 130,000 tons of plastic and solid waste every day.
Every day?
Every day, you know?
Wow.
And yeah, they don't have, of course, they don't have enough recycling places, and yeah, the rest is burnt or gets into the ocean, as we can see.
Wow.
Yeah. Humans are stupid. We get proved every day, everywhere, you know. That's it.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Not all of us.
Not all of us.
Like saying the
yeah.
Dem party is corrupt. Not all of it.
Yeah.
You know, just the majority at this point. What else? So what other sad things you have for us? Guns and cats?
Yes, I have. I don't know if you want to run this. This is a nice clip which explains guns and the usage of guns, or what we are doing with guns on a complete different level. And, you know, it's explained with cats. I don't know if you want to run this. This is a 3-minute 46 seconds video.
Cats are good for ratings, so let's go for it.
This is what I thought. Yes.
If you're still not sure what to do about guns, let me explain it to you using this awful cat. Now, before we start, we can all agree that banning cats won't get rid of all cats, and that a majority of people that do own cats are good people. Not every cat is an awful cat, and I happen to love a cute, cuddly cat. Ah, look at you, so cute, such a cute little kitty. Ah, stupid, awful cat! Ah! That was an awful cat. And that is what we're here to talk about. Let's say you're at the movies or church or school when out of nowhere a cat pops up and claws you in the face. Suddenly, you might want to do something about this awful cat. Now, I live on a street that had one awful stray cat. And when no one did anything about it, one cat turned into dozens, and they were all clawing people in the face. And it's all because my neighbor, the crazy cat lady, Mrs. Nra, was leaving out giant piles of treats for cats. So you explained to your neighbor that maybe it would be okay to have a couple rules for these cats. Now, you would hope that a good neighbor would understand. But she freaks out and yells at you that you're trying to ban all cats. And you're just like, hey, I just don't want to get clawed in the face. I'm not banning anything. And they tell you maybe if you had your own cat, you'd feel better about it. And you say, I do have a cat. It's that cute cuddly one in my window. That's not the problem. The problem is these... God damn it! So as you can see, we have a cat problem. And all anyone wants is to put some rules in place to stop the excessive amount of awful cats on the street. But instead, I'm looking out my window and see an even bigger, scarier lions, tigers, cheetahs, and AR-15s. That's not the same as a regular cat. But my crazy cat lady neighbor wants you to think it's okay for everybody to own a cheetah. What? No. Would you stop it, Mrs. Nra? Really? And sure, there are people out there with the proper knowledge and training to understand the responsibilities of owning a cheetah. But when the cheetahs keep ending up in schools clawing kids in the face, I don't think the answer is to put more cheetahs in the school. And I don't think the best way to buy a cheetah is to walk into Petco and go, hey, I want a cheetah. Oh, okay, here you go. And I think we all can agree that it's impossible to get rid of all cats. Which is good, because there's tons of cute, cuddly ones. But let's make some rules that limit and prevent how many awful cats wind up on our street. Less awful cats means less people clawed in the face. Sure, they still might get attacked by a dog or abducted by aliens, but let's handle this one problem at a time. And while this won't solve all cat problems, there's a good chance it'll help with a lot. Like, they had a similar cat problem over on Australia Street, and after they put rules in place, good people still owned good cats, but no one has gotten clawed in the face in over 20 years. And to all the teenagers on my street that are fed up with that cat lady, I'm really proud of you for being so brave. So I hope that explains to you the problem we're having with guns. Now, I have a feeling that the comments on this video are gonna get a little out of hand. If you see that, could you help me out? Direct the conversation back to what laws can we put in place to get less guns in the hands of wrong people. It's important and something we should talk about constructively. How can we stop Mrs. Nra? She's a good lady, she's just a little too into her cats. Maybe we could get her to be interested in a new American pastime, like give everyone on the street free apple pie. There's a rally on March 24th in Washington, D.C., and I would love it if you could attend. I'll have all that information down below. That said, we'll be back to the regularly scheduled videos starting soon. Congrats to Hello Person for finding this week.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
Cats, you know, good for ratings.
Now, I just want to clarify. I know, I don't know who it was, said, Jilly Love, there are no cuddly guns. Well, that's perspective, right? To gun nuts, that's not the case. I mean, they make
A cute little handgun that only shoots one bullet at a time is the equivalent of a cuddly gun.
They make pink guns for girls, pink Glocks.
Oh, yes,
they make
wonderful stuff.
fuzzy handles. They make, yeah. So whatever is cuddly for whatever that twisted, demented person is who likes guns so much, that's cuddly, right? I mean, somebody who hates or despises cats could say the same thing. There are no cuddly cats, right? So it's not the cat's fault. We just need some regulations. Yep. I like that. That was beautiful. Yeah. What about bacon? Where does bacon fit in? It's got to be cats and bacon. Bring that in.
Bacon.
Ah, nice cartoon that you grabbed here.
Yeah.
Does it matter?
Oh, yeah.
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but I think it was nice, you know, and it was very fitting, you know.
They make pink AR-15, says Melissa H. That's really frightening. Of course they do. I'm surprised they don't have an AR-15 Barbie. I just, since Marcus put this slide in here with Kim Jong-un,
Kim Jong-un,
on whatever his goddamn name is,
Kim Jong-da.
I just want to say my favorite comment about all of this has been from MAGA folks, and I know my brother is just screaming this right now. See what see what happens when you use toughness like Trump did, and now he's negotiating. Like, right, but he was the one who originally said that negotiation with Rocket Man was pointless. Remember?
It is just one question. Who do you think is more smart, Kim Jong-un or Donnie? Do you really have to think so long about this?
I don't know.
I think they're both idiots, you know. But I think Kim Jong Un is much more smart than 45. And if you follow this, you know, he didn't have any advisor, you know. He just it is just like a tweet, you know. He decided this in a moment, in an emotion, and yeah, that's it, you know. There was no advisor, you know. They were all. The said rest, which is existing in the White House, was completely surprised from what I heard, you know, that he wants to meet Kim Jong-un, and I think, okay, let's go.
All right, I could see that, but I bet it went a different way. I bet he went, how could he be crazier than me? I'm the craziest. No, I'm going to meet him and talk to him because I don't understand what he's doing here. I am the crazy one. He is supposed to be the United States. He's not playing the role right, so we're going to meet and talk this out. Because I want to understand how he's going to profit from this. I guarantee you they're probably just working out how they're going to play this.
Yeah.
Right? How do we string this out long enough to make sure that we both get what we want out of our people? That's all they give a fuck about. Either one of those guys. And as far as being smart, I don't think it has to do with Trump or I think it's the people that they're surrounded by.
Exactly what I was just going to say. It's like, it's not that they're the puppets. It's who's orchestrating all this behind the scenes that we have issue with.
And as far as the leaders are concerned, yeah, I agree, Laura. As far as leaders are concerned, really, I think it goes like this. Wake up in the morning, they make a fire or a poopy in their pants, and then all the people in power around them go, how do we use this to our advantage? I really think that's just the plan. Like they have a chaos engine. How do we use it to our advantage to get our means? But I don't know. That's just my view. Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know how you guys in the audience are feeling. Is anybody out there really worried about the prospect of nuclear war? I just want to bring that up right here. We got like 6 minutes. Anybody like worried about that as opposed to other things, Marcus?
Not that I've, no, I don't have no inner DEFCON right now.
Okay, like no inner. Laura, you? Is your inner DEFCON going on?
No, this is financial.
It's all fine. Okay, yeah. This is frightening. In America, I think we have so many other problems, like in our face, right? I mean, they're at our door. They're ICE. They're law enforcement. I like every day. There's another video of another cop beating the shit out of another person. Like Jesus, you know. We have so many problems at our doorstep that existential threats like nuclear war, or even climate change, unless it's at our doorstep. It's like, I can't deal with that right now. I got so much to deal with at home to survive. I can't. If a nuclear bomb goes off, at least I don't have to deal with all this other shit. I really think that's where we're at here. And it's good because we need to be focused on the small stuff. We need to be focused on the local politics, the statewide races, what's going on here. We can't focus on and dumbass meeting places, Pence, whatever. It's not our thing. We have to focus on what we can do with, and that is our states, our local governments. So, yeah. So for that, we're going to get the hell out of here. And Mark, is there anything else you want to talk about? Am I missing something on the rundown?
No, everything's done. Everything's perfect.
Laura, anything else you want to talk about?
Just next week on the people. We actually don't have Wednesday. I'd kept Wednesday open for our rescheduling of some of our
and nobody wants to jump in on Wednesday?
And they're not there. I think they have some reorganizing. So I do have next Wednesday open, and as we mentioned before, we are kind of focusing on Western Wall candidates, Washington, Oregon, California. All those primaries are coming up pretty quick. Not that we wouldn't bring in someone who had a particularly interesting race in another state, but for right now, we are kind of circling the wagons a bit toward the groups that we're really working a lot. So we've got a lot of Washington candidates coming up in the next few weeks.
Yes, we do.
And I've got several asks in the works, and we'll fill that. But,
awesome.
But we have Robert Hunziker from Speaking of Washington on Monday.
And I didn't load the slides. So we have Robert Hunziker on Monday. Mm-hmm. And then we've got some other stuff going on that I have not listed here. I should have the slide for it. So we have our fundraiser coming up on April 1st, No More Fools, which we're driving for. But before that, actually, on the 17th and 18th, Larry and myself and Ash and a bunch of other people are going to be up at in Salem at high school, where we are going to be discussing the Oregon Democratic Party platform, and we will be live streaming. As I think I've got 3, like a spider just decided to crawl down in front of my camera. That was interesting. Go on the ground there, buddy. It's like, what is that? Oh, it's a spider. I was dropping from the ceiling here. So this is gonna be interesting for 2 reasons. One, this is the state version of the platform that we saw the Dems do, and that the Unity Commission is supposed to put into effect or vote on some of the stuff. I don't expect anything to come out of that, but that's on the national level. This is the Oregon state level, right? So there's many things that are being pushed forward to be on the platform and legislative action items, which is actually what we demand that the Democratic Party work towards, that is in their legislative sessions, right? One of those things is the inclusion of engagement broadcasting being used by the Democratic Party to communicate with its members. That's pretty huge. And it's Justin Bryce and Charles Bond and Larry Taylor and everybody that made that happen. They're like, we're going to put this in here, and then we're going to support it, and our groups are going to do this. And I was like, really? That's cool. I don't even know how you know how that happened? It's because Justin Bryce is on the platform committee because he volunteered to do so, because he decided to take part in his democracy. So he took power, and then he used it. He wrote out some words and said, we're going to add this. And now we've got at least five progressive groups that are going to back it. And I'm going to be in the room where they're discussing it. I kind of have to be, because I guarantee you everybody else is going to go, what the hell is engagement broadcasting? What does that mean? And I'm going to have to explain. All right? But that's pretty freaking cool. That's how democracy works. You could write up legislation for the platform that says, we want our Democratic Party to love hot dogs. And if you can get enough support for that, then they'll add it to the goddamn platform. And they have to focus on loving hot dogs. Whatever you want. We're going for something a little more powerful. But I'm just saying, like, this is the steps to participate in our democracy, change how it functions for a party, and take the power and use it. We are witnessing those steps happening across the United States as Americans wake up to participate in their democracy. And that's just cool. So be with us on the 17th and 18th for that. And then I've got a special event on the 24th with Brian Lacey. And he is the bee guy. I don't know if you guys remember when we lived in Milwaukee, but Brian helped us get what we thought were bees safely out of our wall. They had made a hive in the wall right above my wife's where she sits and works, and it was about to burst into our house. And you could just see it because they'd eaten away all of the drywall. So we called Brian thinking that they were bees. They were not bees. They were actually yellow jackets. But he was kind enough to take care of anyway. Anyway, started a relationship with him. He's going to be on the show March 24th to talk about urban bees, how you can have a beehive in a very small space to provide you honey and to care for the bees, what you need to do. And we're going to talk about installing an observation hive. This is the coolest freaking thing. We're going to put it in our guest room in our house. And it gives them access through the outside, just a small access hole through the outside of the house. On the inside, it's like a bookcase. It's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet high, maybe 1.5 feet wide, and 4 different levels or so, from what I can tell. And it's nice, it's wood, but it's got plexiglass on it, or glass. So you can watch the bees do what they do. He's installed these in schools in Portland. So freaking cool. And we're going to put one in our house. And yeah, so watch the show. Join us on the 24th to learn about bees and how you can have them, because that is a smart thing to do. We're killing our bees with Monsanto and the way we treat our environment around the world. And when the bees die, we're going to die. It's basically how that goes. They're the primary pollinators of the planet. And so we need to kind of take care of them. Plus, honey is so damn expensive that free honey supply. Local honey, the best way to take care of your allergies. So it's kind of the same. All right. So there's my notes on the bees. And Jilly Love, you should be thrilled about this, right? It's totally eco. Hey, eco, so is eco around? Because that's another innovation, right? That counts.
Yeah.
Remember that deal?
Yes, I remember. And I know that Eco was around in chat earlier today.
He was not happy, so he left.
All right. Oh. Well, sorry to hear.
Too bad.
All right, that's all I got, everybody.
Yeah.
Tell us about the song.
Yeah, we go out. I think for a couple of time we did not play a good soul song, and I found a little golden nugget from the late '60s. And as you can see, is George Clinton, one of those, one of the Clintons you have to like, you know. And yes, George Clinton, as you know, I think most of you know him. He is one of the godfathers of the funk. He created the P-Funk. The other godfathers are, as you know, James Brown and Sly Stone. And this is one from the very early years of George Clinton when he worked as a producer. In this case, he produced the Flaming Embers. Later, they recalled them to Flaming Amber. And yes, it was a local band from Detroit, from the soul era. And it was I think it was one of their 3 or 4 hits they had until they got back into the Detroit era and played only bars and stuff like this, you know. And I think George moved further at that time. But this was a great number, I think, a great track, and I hope you like it. It is called Hey Mama, What You Gotta Good for Daddy, The Flaming Embers by George Clinton.
Right. But now tell everybody the interesting little connection there.
Oh, the interesting connection. All right, yes. When I checked this out today, I was inspired to pick up this song, and I checked the band members, and the funny thing was that the keyboarder in this track in the band, his name is Bill Ellis. It's a nice coincidence, as I think.
That's a total cosmic connection right there, Marcus.
Yes,
certain symmetry.
Synchronicity, yes, yeah.
Yep. All right.
All right.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
everybody.
weekend, guys, and here.
Look at this. I can do this. I could like put us in the shot
Yeah,
and the
cool.
music.
Look at all that.
That's just rocket. All right.
We're bad.
So what is this? See you tomorrow. Progressive Oregon, and then Progressive Cali.
Yep.
See you guys.
Thank you, everybody.